Hey, what's up, car fam? Today's a really exciting day. We finally have the information that we've been waiting for weeks. Honda has finally released the specs and performance and other feature information for the 2023 Honda Civic Type R, so let's dive in. So the most important thing that a lot of people want to know is what's the horsepower and what's the torque. So we finally have that info. They've actually boosted the pressure for the PSI to 23.3 PSI, so that's going to help achieve some of these numbers that we see. So at 6,500 RPM, we have 315 horsepower, and then from 2,600 to 4,000, we have a peak of 310 pound-feet of torque. So that's really awesome. We're up 9 horsepower and then we're up 15 pound-feet of torque. These numbers here reflect the US market. The UK and other parts of the world have different emissions, rules, and restrictions, so they are able to have more power in those places. So just keep that in mind if you're watching this video from another part of the world. The red line's at 7,000 still. We don't have weight, which I'm assuming they don't have that information because they might be finalizing what features they will include. That must be getting, figured out still, and that's why the final weight isn't available, because we've seen that across like the Japan market and things like that. A lot of those specs are already released, but here in the States, we don't have that information yet. So the power figures, I think, are definitely spot on with what a lot of people were thinking. There was no way they were gonna bump it up to 350 or anything like that. It just doesn't really make sense for multiple reasons. But what the good thing is about those power figures is I actually drove the FK and it got really decent gas mileage, so you'll still be able to retain a lot of that solid fuel economy for a car with this much performance. So as a daily driver, that makes this, even more of a win, which is nice. So they have made a couple of adjustments to the 6-speed manual transmission. This should basically make it a little bit more confidence inspiring when you're going from, certain gears to the next, because on the last generation, as great as it was, there are certain moments where it does feel a little bit rubbery. So after me driving the Acura Integra with the 6-speed manual, it gives me a good sense of what this one will be like, which will be, even better. But that one was perfectly notchy, but also still smooth at the same time. So I'm excited for them to just make those minor tweaks to make this car even better than the last generation, which was already awesome. Like I said, we don't have the fuel economy specs yet. We're still, waiting on that, but we could, reasonably guess that it's gonna be pretty close to what the last one was, maybe slightly improved or about the same. So definitely not a bad thing. And then here's just some information on certain things that they've done with the chassis, just to kind of help with driving dynamics, the overall feel, and how it performs. What I thought was pretty interesting is the stabilizer bar and how thick it was. Most aftermarket ones are going to be 22 plus millimeters. This one's 20.5 millimeters. So I just thought that was kind of interesting that they didn't make it even more stiffer than kind of what's already out there on aftermarket. But of course, there's so many other components that make this car a really solid daily driver, where it's still comfortable but not too stiff at the same time. So definitely not a bad thing. Steering ratio is still nice and quick, 11:6:1. And then with the wheels, which is going to help put that extra power down and help with just getting traction and overall performance, especially if you're going to be taking this to the track. The last one was a 245 series tire. This one is a 265/30 R19. 30 series is still pretty thin in my opinion as a daily. I wish it was a 265/35, which would have made it just have even less of a wheel gap too, but the 30 series is what it comes with. I'm sure the engineers have something in mind for that, but if it was my daily, I would hate to have a 30 series tire. It's just so thin if you hit a pothole or anything like that. But from a performance standpoint, definitely not a bad thing. So yeah, curb weight we don't have yet. Like I said, they're probably still fine-tuning what the car is going to feature, so here in the States we'll get that later once they finalize what that will be. And then this one does have a ton of safety features, which is really crazy. So this actually helps even with some of your insurance costs, believe it or not. You have a performance car, but if you have all this safety tech, that's something that's going to play a factor into what your insurance rate could potentially be. So definitely a really long list of what they've done. You have lane keeping assist, you have the adaptive cruise control, which is awesome in a manual car to even have that. This car features some safety technology that even $60,000 cars charge extra for. So you can take a look at this list here and then, you know, get an idea of everything that is there. And it does have the brake assist, which is nice. That definitely makes it a little bit easier for just your, you know, day-to-day driving activities. So another thing that's interesting to know is that they are not going to paint match the following features. So the wing spoiler will be gloss black. The antenna that's on the top of the roof with the little like shark fin style, that's going to be gloss black, and then the mirrors on the side, that'll be gloss black. So I thought that was interesting, only because sometimes those are paint matched depending on the car and things like that, but the gloss black, I think that's going to look really good. And the Civic Si is the same way, so it makes sense, and I just think overall that it looks really nice. For those that are really into detailing their car and things like that, you'll definitely want to do some work to make sure that it doesn't get too many scratches, because I'm sure that gloss black is going to be something that can easily get chips and, you know, things like that, where you just start seeing swirl marks. So just keep that in mind for those really shiny gloss black areas. And then we have the final colors, which the standard colors, which don't have an extra charge to them, will be Rally Red and then Crystal Black Pearl. For anyone that wants the next colors that I'm going to list, these will have a premium. We don't know how much those will cost, but it will be an extra cost. So Championship White, Sonic Gray Pearl, and then Boost Blue Pearl. Those are all going to be extra fees. So we actually have pictures of those colors too, of what the car looks like in those colors, which is nice because on the press release we only had the Championship White and then we have the Rally Red, but we could see the Sonic Gray Pearl and then the Boost Blue. We can see all of that here on the press release, which is nice because then you can get a better idea of what that color looks like with these like really nice professional images on their like test track, it looks like. So really awesome. My new favorite color is actually the Rally Red. I didn't really like red on the last generation, but on this one, the way they just cleaned up the body lines and then you have the black accents, I love how it looks. Championship White is still my favorite, but next to that is definitely the Rally Red. So I'm curious what your color is and what you think about the horsepower and torque numbers. So leave a comment below. And then if you are interested in pre-ordering one of these, I do have 2 really helpful videos of some dealerships I've called both locally and out of state to find out what their process is. This car is going to be really tough to get, even harder than the last one in my opinion, because it's hard enough to get a regular Civic hatchback. So you might want to get started early and at least know what the process is. There are dealerships that are no longer doing out-of-state deals, and then of course dealership markup. So I'll link all of those videos below in the description so you can check those out. And then if you have any tips or advice or just want to continue the conversation about the Civic Type R, leave some comments below. So thanks for watching. Catch you later. Peace.